Hello, hello, everybody. I am Kimberly Samboy from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and today I'm very glad to show you my experience visiting the MIT Technology Review. This magazine has 125 years on the market, and today I'm very glad to learn a lot about it with Miss Amy, which is the executive editor of the magazine. So, welcome to my channel.
And how is the day as an editor in MIT Technology Review?
Yeah, every day is different. Right now my work involves mostly managing my team and managing projects that come out once a year, like that list I just showed you of the innovators under 35. We do another one, the 10 breakthrough technologies that I was presenting on when we first met.
Yes.
So these projects come out, once a year, but they're months in the making. And so right now we are planning for 3 that are launching this fall and early next year. So they're all at kind of different stages. You've got, stories coming in for one that you're working on editing. You might have stories that you're assigning out for another. You might have some very early kind of planning discussions going on for the third, kind of all simultaneously. So it's a lot of like meetings to discuss all those things and brainstorm ideas and talk through how we're going to put this thing together and get it out there in the world. It's some budgeting, making sure we don't, spend more than we have to produce these things. It's just like you're always constantly learning about new topics in technology, and it changes every single day. So.
And how's the preparation of MTech Caribbean? I mean, I saw the final result. I went the last day.
Yes.
And I really love it. Like the spring was a very high quality in content and logistics and everything. So
good.
How you prepare those events?
Well, thank you for that, because it means a lot coming from you, because I think you go to a good number of these, and so you see a lot of events, so it's high praise coming from you. I think you probably have a discerning eye for those kinds of things.
Yes.
Most of the credit there goes to our licensing partners. There are local licensing partners who produce the event and do all the organization of it. As a speaker for that event, my preparation involved putting together my presentation. I gave 2 20-minute talks, one on generative AI and kind of how we got to the moment we're currently in, and one on the 10 breakthrough technologies list that I produce. So putting those together and making sure I knew what I was going to say took several days of work, and then there was a panel as well that I was moderating. So you're talking with your speakers ahead of time to just understand what they want to talk about and what you want to ask about, so you can kind of architect that conversation and make it useful for the audience. So I would say for any kind of event, one-day event like that, there's a couple weeks, of meetings and planning in the run-up. Not full-time, but there's a good amount of prep that goes into making sure those things run smoothly and look good and are useful to the audience, because you want it to be valuable. People have taken time and spent money to come to this event, so you want to really deliver on that and give them some useful things to take back.
And it was really interesting because me and my friends were youngest. We were like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And also there were people like 50, 60, or even more. And it was really interesting how all of us can take from that information. For example, I understood many things about AI that I haven't think before, because we just heard that at school, like don't only use ChatGPT to do your homework, but understanding how we can use it in an appropriate way. Learning. And for example, what you were saying, like it's really interesting because AI cannot like write your articles, but it can check some grammar stuff, which is like really interesting. So
yes.
Yeah,
I love that you were there. I love that you and your friends were there. That was so fun, and I'm really glad that you felt like the material that was being presented was like in a way that you could understand and that you were interested in. Are you using AI? I'm curious. Are you using the tools?
Yes, I have. For example, I make some scripts for some videos. For example, that videos consist basically in hooks, like how you capture attention, then you have the script, and then you like end with something. For example, I made like 5 different hooks, and then I asked like how can you make it more interesting? And for example, I don't use like the whole hook that AI give me, but I can change some words to make it more attractive. Like, okay, so I asked them like, if you are a 16 years old Dominican, blah 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 blah, I give them like how my target audience will be, and they give me like some strategic word that people can like cap attention very fast. So
Oh, that's a perfect use. I love, so you're like workshopping with it basically. You're,
Yes.
you know, generating text or having it generate something and then kind of saying, I'll tweak it this way, or, you know, prompting it in a certain direction because you know what you want out of it. And I think that's such a brilliant, way to use it.
Yes. And when you went to the Dominican Republic,
Yes.
what do you love the most about my gorgeous island?
There's so much to love. I found it, the historic part of the city there in Santo Domingo, just so interesting and special. Like I'd never quite been to a district or a city center that looked quite like that, and so I enjoyed spending time there. What I didn't do is make it to any of your beaches, and I know there's a lot of wonderful beaches. I was mostly in Santo Domingo, and I felt like exploring some of the more mountainous areas that you were telling me about of the country would have been really wonderful. So I will have to return and spend more time. But
definitely.
Just in the city proper, you just get a feel and a flavor of the country and the culture, and it was it was really nice, especially for me going there at the time of year that I did from Boston. It was a very lovely change of weather and climate and culture, and really refreshing.
So these are our archives, 125 years of MIT Technology Review as a magazine, and you can kind of see how the look of the magazine has changed over the years.
Wow, definitely.
So one thing I like to do is, what is the month and year that you were born? We can
2007, September.
September. Okay.
Oh my God.
Let's see what we were writing about. The month you were born. What do we got? September, October 2007. Here it is.
Wow. That was the. Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is actually our list of innovators under 35.
Oh my God,
we're
which
about
is
to
really
put out.
interesting because they were talking about Apple's iPhone, and now 16 years later, most of us have Apple iPhones.
I think it was only a year old. I think it came out in 2006, if I remember correctly. So
Yes.
isn't that wild?
Yes,
It's like time
that's
travel.
really- Talk about the phone, and now we all have phone. Oh my God.
Right.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Let me see what else I can find.
So this is that's our May-June issue, and cover story there is about how robots are becoming more capable because of AI. They're able to use AI to train, and it's making progress in that field faster, which is great to see because for a long time that's been a really hard thing to do. And then this is our latest issue, the July-August issue, and the cover story here is
Game never over.
Yeah,
Oh my
isn't that
God.
fun? The cover story here, this issue is on the theme of play, and the cover issue, or the cover story, this issue is all about AI in gaming. So using AI to create characters that you can interact with in a game that don't have like a scripted response, but could just generate a never-ending basically set of responses and take the conversation in any possible direction. How gaming companies are starting to experiment with that. So.
Yes, I have a question. Like, how can you convey, like, being a magazine in the 21st century, how can you convey innovation with also, like, expertise and data and make it interesting for young audiences as I am?
Well, I think a lot of these things are just inherently interesting, and as an editor and a reporter, you kind of develop a knack for finding those ideas that others might find interesting. A lot of times that just comes from pursuing your own interests, like what do you as a human find interesting, or what are you curious about, or what do you want to know more about? And oftentimes other people will be curious about the same things.
Yes.
And so that can be one way into it. And I think a lot of the topics that we report on, people are interested in, biotechnology, our own kind of personal health and how medicine's evolving, things like gaming. Many people are gamers in their own lives. They might be interested in how AI is going to change that sector. A lot of people are watching the Olympics right now. We have a story in this issue all about shoes and like shoe design, so running shoe design and how that's evolved over the years and how it's influencing the sport of running and what it's changing and what the latest designs do for runners and how that's measured. So I don't know, there's a lot of like things that kind of cross over into technology from people's lives and the topics that people are interested in. So in some ways it's kind of easy. With other topics it can be a little harder.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think you can always come back to the question of like, why does this matter to somebody? Why would someone read this? Why do they need to know this information? And usually that kind of helps like helps you bring it back to like what is actually the most interesting, important thing to convey in this story or broadcast or podcast or whatever you're working on.
Do you remember like one topic you write the first time, or on the first work you're doing or editing? What was one of the topics you were talking about at the beginning?
At the beginning of my career?
Yeah, your career.
That's interesting. Well, some of them, like we talked about with your magazine issue, some of them are still around. Like I remember CRISPR being a big deal when I was getting into the industry, and that obviously still is a big deal, but has evolved. There's like new generations and versions of CRISPR, and now it's kind of making its way into real world medicine after being out there for more than a decade. The iPhone's been around for like you said, a long time. It's changed and evolved, but has new capabilities. Now it's kind of being infused with AI in new ways. But some of these technologies, it's kind of surprising how quickly they change, and others it's like how long they last, how long lasting they are. It's interesting as well.
Wow, that's really, really cool. And like before like posting something like this, why you read, why you make sure it's correct? Like what is your work here?
Right, so kind of what's our process? So for us, for a magazine story, for example, one of these features, it would go through, a reporter would report the story, they would go talk with experts and do a bunch of research and put together a draft, and then they would work with an editor to revise that draft, and the editor is sort of the first check on everything. And then in our publication, we have a second editor called a top editor who comes in after the line editor and does another edit of the whole piece, just to make sure, did the first editor like miss anything? Are there any big holes in the reporting? So there's like 2 layers of editing there. And then it goes to a third editor known as a copy editor who's doing a close read for grammar, syntax, house style, which is how a publication, uses certain kinds of language. And also like logic of the piece, does it logically fit together? And then oftentimes, especially for magazine features, we'll also fact check our stories. So that will go out to a fact checker who's reading through and checking every single line and name and location in the story, and sometimes going back to sources to make sure information in the story is accurate. So there's many layers, and a draft goes through many iterations from the time it's filed to the time that it's published. But I think that process, really helps make sure that it's accurate and as well written as possible.
In this era of fake news, how like MIT Technology Review make sure to have credibility as well as posting something that people can see and think that is true?
A lot of that, I think, comes back to the way that we produce our journalism. I mean, we produce, original reporting. We're not doing any kind of aggregation. We don't do a ton of breaking news. So every story that we publish, we're doing, we're spending at least a day to get that story together and to publish it. And so that time is important because it makes in time to go and talk to people, to interview, experts, to gather the information you need, to have a couple of layers of editing to double check your work. And so, and our journalists, in many cases, they're experts in their own right in their beat areas. Many of them have been reporting on their beats for, more than a decade at this point. A number of them have degrees in the field in which they are now writing about. And so I think that expertise and kind of drawing on the expertise of the researchers and entrepreneurs that we speak with really helps ground our reporting and our method, just being a place that that invests in that time and that editing process, and we want to make sure we get it right as often as possible, and are honest when we're not. I think that's kind of what it always comes back to for us.
Yeah, like during the past years, you have been working and interviewing people. Who's someone that you admire, that you had the opportunity to meet, to talk, or even have the opportunity to go to an event that they were talking?
Yeah, I think this is a fun part of my job where I have a lot of those opportunities. Yeah, one interview that stood out for me this year, I interviewed Microsoft's chief scientist, Jamie Coogan, and she has a really interesting role right now. She comes from a research background, she's a scientist herself, but is now also like managing teams and features and products at this major tech company. And her job right now is very involved around like thinking about generative AI and what that means for the company. So I admired and appreciated her honesty and kind of forthrightness about what she was thinking about and her willingness to share. And I just think that she's at the intersection of a lot of interesting things right now.
You're talking about leadership. How important is leadership? Working in a company where you have like people managing, but also you have people to report to.
Yes, I think I think that can kind of make or break a company in a lot of cases, and so you see it in the tech sector, you see it in other sectors as well, and I think somebody who has a vision and can articulate that vision and is a kind of relentless communicator like yourself, like just natural, they're prone to communicate. I think those things can be really helpful for other people in a company and just help somebody get across what a company needs to do or what an organization needs to do. So I think I think it's pretty key to success.
Yes, there's some values that people always talk about, like discipline, respect, passion. What do you think is really important for a journalist who wants to have a professional career?
Well, I think you've got a lot of them from my interaction with you, honestly. You have a natural curiosity, I feel, just from knowing you a short time, and you're a natural communicator, and you have an instinct to want to know more and to sit down with people and have conversations, and it's coming from a place of just genuine like wonderment and curiosity about the world and how it works. And I think that that's like such a good place to start from, and that will just always like serve you well in this career. And it's still, I feel like, what drives a large part of my motivation and satisfaction with my job. So I think that's all really important.
In my city, there are some like teen magazines and people like writing about something, even their opinion, but also interviewing and having like fact news. What do you think it's important for them, like starting this idea of having a teen magazine? How can they like approach the opportunities, but also have credibility during the time?
I love that people are starting up new magazines always and reporting on topics that interest them, and are starting more local reporting outlets. That's so wonderful to hear. I think that I don't know if I have much advice for them, because I'm just happy to hear that they're doing it. That's very cool, and I feel like we need more of that. And just follow your instincts. It's like things change so much in the way that people do communicate or the way that they find information. I think maybe just kind of, rather than necessarily trying to repeat the models of the past, you can just think about how you seek out information, or what you are, where you're finding information online, and you could start there, sources that you find useful, and try to create something kind of in that style. But it's mostly just exciting for me to hear that is happening, and that that's something that you're seeing.
Yes, and what is something you have learned in your career, like the younger Amy version, you would like to say here the first day that she was starting at this company?
Well, honestly, just the value of just persistently working at something over time. And I think that things take time, and like it takes time to learn how to do things, and it takes time to grow and get comfortable in your own career as you take on more responsibilities, and just kind of like believing in the process is like a really valuable lesson, I feel, that I've embraced more in kind of the last couple of years, and it's been really helpful, where you don't always know exactly, you don't have certainty around exactly how this thing's going to go, or exactly what this certain move you're making is going to mean. But if you kind of trust the process and the decisions that you're making, and your team and where you're all headed, I feel like that is generally a good spot to operate from.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot since we met last April. I've learned a lot about how we communicate a message in a different audience, because I come from a very Latin and Hispanic audience, but also learning about how you communicate for a target, like a target audience who wants to learn about technology, and it has been really, really cool. I'm very, very glad I'm here.
What do you think is different about the communication style of, say, the DR versus America? Like, what have you picked up on in your?
I would say that probably like the words and the how you captivate the attention for the audience. I mean, because they're different audiences, it's different, like 100% different how the magazines there pick their titles and how in the US pick their titles. I mean, both are interesting, but because of their audience, they take certain words, but also in the art, for example, they take some slangs to make people connect easier. But also here, I've the robots are coming and they're here to help. That is something that really captured my attention too. So the different way they communicated, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Well, I'm so excited that you're here as well. I'm so glad that you stopped in to visit, and I'm just thrilled to be, following along with your career as it takes off, which I'm sure it will be.
In Jesus' name.
So over on this side is part of our team. Still kind of filtering in here, but this is our administrative executive
side
parts with IT and HR and our CFO, Chief Financial Officers over here. And they're all
like Saturn. I love the names.
Yeah, we got. And then you can see some of our old magazine issues. These are some of the really early ones. Well, these are
1977.
I love those geometric designs.
Yeah.
Those are some of the coolest ones that we had.
It was innovative at that moment. Crisis and crisis. Cities in crisis. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's then we walk to the other side here. Okay, I'll give you see if I have any. Like an MIT technology review reporter's notebook.
Oh my god. Okay, that's insane. I'm so glad I have these. Thank you.
We have more conference rooms named after planets, as you can see.
Yes. Wow. Mercury, Venus.
Yeah. And then these are, phone booths. If you have an interview, you can kind of go and sit in there and that call. And then this is the rest of our office. We have our product and tech team that's over here. Our events team that works with the
activity
so I can organize the event. Our editorial team is back here, so reporters and editors. My desk is right there. And some of the members of our sales and production team. This is our common area, our kitchen, so we have lunch here. And then we have
and take some rest.
Yes. Yeah, we have our big company meetings here. We've got a little mini golf course if people want to play.
Oh, this is really funny.
Yeah. So that's it. That's MIT Technology Review's office.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was always see that in videos and stuff, how this works, but having the opportunity to come here and and see the work behind something we see.
Yes. Well, I'm so thrilled to have you here. I mean, it was so fun to meet you down in Tech Caribbean, and it's just a thrill to have you here.
Yes, and I was telling my mom before, things is not just about going events. You can learn, you can meet people with your same passion. Because, for example, if you told me about 6 months ago, you told me about AI or technology, I would say that's interesting. But if you told me about journalism about it, I was mind blown.
Yeah, this is a thing you can do. You can make a career, writing about technology and learning about it, and I have every belief that you will if that's the direction you choose to pursue.
Yes, I'm really into journalism because I believe that things are interesting, but the way that we share it, the impact we made with the things and the word we choose, it's really important actually.
Yeah.
In this world, it's really, really important.
Yeah, I could not agree more. 100%.
Yeah. Wow. I want to learn more about like all this.
Yeah.
Like how
Sure. So
how
these,
did this happen?
so these are also our archives. So we're getting here into the 2010s. These are some of our most recent issues here. Whereas that starts, way back. These come up to almost modern day.
Yes.
You can also see a couple of awards, national awards that we've won through the years for our journalism.
2008. I was like 1 year at that moment.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch there. Yeah, and yeah, it's just a mix of things. And
Wow. 1979. Wow.
yeah, this is sort of our
Magazine
Hall
of the
Fame.
year. Wow.
Right. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
cool.
Best cover contest. Wow. Yeah, that one is amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, what is your favorite part, like here in the place? What is your favorite like place to work?
Yeah, I mean, I like this room honestly because it has all of our archives and it has some of the old
Yes.
covers along the wall, those geometric designs that are so fun. Yeah, and I just feel like it just has a nice feel to it.
Yes.
I also work out of the conference rooms quite a bit, smaller ones for meetings, and I like my desk. I'm by a window. I'm happy with that space as well. I have some plants. Yeah, I work from home, and then I work from home some days because we're not in the office every day. So, I like the change. I like mixing it up and having these different spaces to go to. So it's just changes throughout the week.
If you can describe your work in one word, what would you choose?
I think just fascinating. It's just fascinating. I think that's what I would have to go with. It's just the most interesting thing I feel like I could do with my time. If you're gonna spend 8 hours of work every day, I mean, this is
Yeah.
like the most fascinating job I feel like I could have. I'm always learning and just, yeah, it's interesting.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I see how much fun I have like making videos. I cannot
Yeah.
imagine how fun it is like between the journalism and all that stuff.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, I think the conversations that go into making a story or a package or an issue, the process, like the decisions you make along the way, the feedback that you get when you put something out into the world, the conversations you have after something is out about that thing, with others, as they see it or read it, or as you talk about it publicly. It's just, I don't know, it's just this whole process that you just get so much out of and can be really rewarding and like really fascinating and just something that I have enjoyed throughout my whole career and expect I will continue. I don't think that will ever get boring. I think that
This was such an amazing opportunity. I'm very glad I explored this side of journalism and had this approach to the industry at such an early age. I'm so happy with the experience, and also I keep creating content in Spanish on my social media, which are Instagram and TikTok, and hope you subscribe to my channels.